Hello. It's been a while since my last video, but recently I've been working through an issue and I thought that I would make another video to share what I'm going through at the moment while I'm in the midst of it to give you a better idea of what's happening. So as you can tell, the background has changed a bit since my previous videos, and that's because there's been quite a bit of change in my personal circumstances over the last month. So before March, my personal circumstances were that I was living with family and studying computer programming independently, with the idea to hopefully eventually get a job in software development. So that aim has now become a reality. I've got a job since early March, and I've also moved out from no longer living with my family, and I've got my own apartment now. So yeah, that's why the scenery here looks a little bit different. Yeah, it's been good, but also confronting, in particular with the issue that I'm going to talk about in this video. So one thing that I have a bit of a problem with is being a bit lazy. So back when I was at home, this would manifest, for example, in me not doing my fair share of domestic chores, things like the laundry, the washing up, and so on. So I would do a bit, because often my conscience would nag me. I was like, oh wait, you really should be doing this. So I'd do a token amount, but then I didn't have this real feeling that I wanted to do it. I felt like entitled to be lazy in that respect. And yeah, now that I've got a job, this laziness is also being confronted, because sometimes I don't feel like going to work and doing my job. I feel like, oh, I just want to lie in bed or whatever. So yeah, I figured that now is a good time to try and confront this addiction, because it is an addiction in the end, like wanting to be lazy, and hopefully make some soul changes. Yeah, so I've been writing in a journal. This is something I would recommend to anyone who's sincere about trying to make some progress, is that keeping a journal, it really helps to note down what you're thinking, what you're feeling at any particular time. Note down things to do with any particular issues that you're trying to deal with at a given time, and it's something that's really helped me. So yeah, I've been using this journal and noting things down to do with facing my laziness. Especially over this last weekend, I had some free time, so I thought I would focus in on this issue. And yeah, there's Divine Truth video called it's from the 2014 assistance group called Deconstructing the Facade, and I feel that that deconstruction process is very pertinent to this issue, where it's basically goes through the various steps of first an intellectual awareness and then an emotional awareness of any issue that you're trying to deconstruct, any sin that's inside of you that you want to get rid of. So I went through the intellectual process with not too much difficulty. Well, I say that I did get angry at some points and have a bit of a tantrum. I often feel on this issue of laziness, I'm like, oh, but I want to be lazy, and and have a tantrum about that. But yeah, that I didn't find it too challenging in the end to try and think about it and think about what could be the causes underlying the laziness, what the actual causal emotion or belief or thing that is driving the problem. Yeah, then it comes to the emotional awarenesses, and these I'm finding a bit trickier to actually really get. The first one that I struggle with is to actually see that this is a problem I have. emotionally, because I know intellectually there's something wrong going on here, but emotionally getting the fact that it's a sin was quite challenging, because I found that I had this emotional belief that sins of omission weren't really sins. So I had a good idea of sins of commission, and that's things like getting angry and shouting at people, and that is a sin. But then sins of omission, not doing things that you're supposed to do, I found it a bit harder, because I sort of have this view of, I'm entitled to not do anything if I don't want to do anything. I can just sit around here and mind my own business, and surely that's not harming anyone. But from God's perspective, that's a sin as well, where God wants us to have like active lives where we engage with life and with other people rather than a static life. So yeah, I think on this issue what helped me is to actually pray to God to try and get some of God's truth about this issue, and God shared with me some truth about this issue, and it was quite a beautiful experience, but also quite firm in a way of saying this is an issue, and kind of not letting me off the hook, which a lot of people tend to let me off the hook for being lazy, but God doesn't let me off the hook. So yeah, and then another stage I went through is that feeling a bit desensitized to the sins I've committed. Like everyone pretty much has committed sins, but then you also kind of become desensitized to the fact that you've committed the sin, because if you're sensitive, then you can feel this compensatory pain for the sin you've committed, and that's quite an uncomfortable feeling, and so people tend to tune out of that, and I'd tune out of my feelings so that I didn't really feel that there's an issue, when actually I've got a lot of issues, a lot of sins to deal with. So yeah, it's also this emotional process of kind of not numbing yourself out anymore from the fact that you've committed these sins, which is a very helpful and important process to go through. And so I kind of gradually become aware a bit more of how I'm sinning and how things have to be done differently in my life, or I have to do things a bit differently, and today I was continuing with this emotional awareness, trying to get through to the addiction, to the point where I realised that this addiction needs to be challenged and got rid of somehow, that the feeling that I should be responsible for removing this addiction. And again, I have my tantrums about this, go into it and out of it, but also I was starting to feel some sadness which is underneath, and at the moment I'm not too sure what that sadness is about after I have my tantrum, or whether that's still a continuation of the tantrum, or is it really the emotion underneath the tantrum. But maybe it's a sadness about feeling that it's a harsh world or something like that, and that's why I avoid things and try to be lazy. At the moment I'm not too sure what the real cause of the laziness is, but this is kind of an idea of this feeling that in the past some people treated me harshly, and that's why I kind of retreat into my lazy bubble to avoid that emotion. Hopefully in the next video I might have some more insights and be able to present exactly what the issue was, so that will be interesting. But yeah, at the moment this is an issue that I'm still working through, kind of the emotional process of challenging the addiction and deconstructing the cause of the sin. So yeah, I think that's about all I wanted to say. Thanks for listening.